So yeah, we all got British Boxing Blog with Jamie Bates. No fight nickname, he's just assured me there.
Not at all.
Straight down to business, I like it. So from a boxing point of view, we'll get into your boxing career, but for those who aren't familiar, like our followers, you are also a pro kickboxer.
Yeah.
So where did it begin? Like your fighting combat?
It began like pretty much in here, but just half a mile up the road. I had my first fight when I was 8. Started training when I was like 4. Had my first fight when I was 8. 62 amateur, 61 wins, and I won a few world titles, amateur world titles and stuff. And I turned pro at 19, kickboxing. Obviously when you're starting off as a pro, you can get fights and fights and fights, and then when you start to get to a certain level, it's hard. So that's when I took up the boxing as well. Decided I'd give both a go.
So how many years were you kickboxing? Obviously from 19 to...
Makes us feel...
I know,
when you go like that's like from 19 to 29, so there's 10 years as a pro there. I had my pro debut boxing when I was 29.
So basically so, 10 years you're saying as a kickboxer.
I've been fighting for 22 years.
And
it doesn't look like it, but I have.
Looking good, Nick, especially with you've been sparring with this week.
Aye.
So like with the kickboxing, like you've mentioned, you hinted at there that you sort of, the fight's dried up a bit. Is that due to the nature of the sport? Is it similar to boxing in that it's like quite fractured, there's lots of different organisations?
There is, but I was signed by a promotion called Glory, who I signed another deal with now, and it's not big in the UK. Kickboxing's not known in the UK really, it's a European sport and they're trying to break America. So it's hard to put the British fighters on card because they've got to be able to sell tickets and sell TV viewings as well.
I mean, we hear that, the ticket problem so much with boxers, especially in the Northeast, trying to get on the cards, trying to shift the tickets. It's one of my biggest bugbears, and I'll tone my language down because the band's in, but like...
Promoters aren't promoting anymore. They're not promoting a show, they're getting the lads to sell the tickets. You don't even see a show poster anymore. They'll put a poster out on social media, which is great because everybody uses it, but you're not going to walk past a shot of a poster, not going to do any fancy promotion to get people through the door because we rely on fights to sell tickets. You can't sell them tickets, you're not on the show. Promoters not gonna, half the promoters aren't gonna lift a finger to promote the show as such. There might be one or two fights on the card that are derbies or competitive fights. The rest, it's like watching paint dry because you know.
Is that across both codes, like the kickboxing and the boxing?
No, kickboxing. My first ever pro fight was against somebody who lost a world title the fight before.
This is what I'm hinting at, because
I had a proper apprenticeship.
I'd say what you describe as a casual kickboxing fan. I do watch Glory, I've seen a bit of the One Championship and stuff, and anything like that's on, I'll sit and try and watch a bit. We'll talk about your opponent coming up and his experiences and stuff, but I think most boxing fans don't necessarily see that side of things. Obviously the UFC, in terms of MMA, it's built as this competitive thing, and the fighters have losses and it doesn't mean anything. Whereas then you see boxing shows.
It all seems to matter too much. So you get hand-fed like 10 puddings, and then sometimes if you get a popular fighter and he's on the top of a card against a pudding, it's not the fighter's fault because they have to fight whoever's put in front of them. It's the promoter's fault. Promote some derbies, promote like some competitive 50-50 fights and get fans through the door like that and grow the sport that way. Like not just because necessarily half these ticket sellers aren't the best boxers in the world anyway, they're just people who can sell tickets, and then they maybe get to one level and never go any further, but they can't go further because they're not getting the competitive fights to get the experience. The apprenticeship has been against a Lithuanian bin man who doesn't want to win because he's not going to get a fight the week after. You know?
It's a bizarre concept, isn't it?
You're paying his mortgage while you're maybe getting £100 off the top of your tickets that you've sold because you've just covered his flights, his mortgage, his kids' school meals for the week and whatever else, you know. It's not, that's not for me. Like, I'd rather fight somebody who wants to take my head off.
So how were you then drawn into pro boxing? Because it's refreshing hearing like an actual pro boxer speak like this. Yeah. So I think a lot of them are quite happy to build up the records and pad the records.
But you'll see plenty, like, there's plenty of them who are game, you know, plenty of them who are proper fight men, especially ones who had a big amateur career because they've had 50-50 fights amateur career-wise. But there are plenty who aren't happy to go outside the comfort zone and fight pure plums.
Yeah, because I'm not one, don't get me wrong at all, I'm not one to be knocking anyone who steps in the ring for whatever they're doing, but I think most boxers, they don't necessarily fear anyone else that fight anyone else,
comfort zones.
but yeah, as you said there, it's they can get away with it. And
well, if you know that he's not really gonna turn up and you're fighting somebody with 3 wins, 152 losses, and whatever else, and it is what it is, you know. But you can't call all of them because they have to do what they have to do.
so you've had one pro boxing fight.
Yeah.
It was at Lancaster Street. We were
That
both myself and Stephen were there. We witnessed that one. Tricky customer, that Yelton Neves. A lot of our fans and followers will be aware of him.
He turned up to win.
He's a game, and he's
game. He's tough. And I mean, he's they changed him with southpaw the week before. I remember Nick was sparred a southpaw the week before, and I was like, Nick, they're horrible. So they can't get away. He says, yeah, you need about 6 weeks of pure sparring southpaws before you fight one. Then the original opponent dropped out and ended up fighting that Yelton. He's like, yeah, you'll be sound.
Like, you were, to be fair, like, you got yourself through it.
I have a tricky customer, you know. He was trying to hit us with shots to take us out with, and that's what it's about. Like, when I train, like, I know this next opponent I've got, he's got like 40 odd knockouts. I was
going to say, tell us about, is it Gregorian? Haruta. I was going to say the other one, Marat. He's not his brother though, is he? He's not. They've trained together, and I thought it was bizarre. Yeah, yes. Is it Amsterdam based? Is that right? Or were they?
I think they're Rotterdam based.
Rotterdam, sorry, Netherlands in it. That's close enough.
But I thought they were brothers, but they're not. He's a tough customer. He's tough as they come. He was a former champion. I fought on the same show when he defended his title belt against somebody who beat me in Russia, even though I think I beat him.
You're 3-1 in Glory, is that right?
3-1 in Glory, aye. So,
done my research, you know.
Done my research. If I beat him, he's number 2, there's no reason why it would look bad if I got a title shot.
Do you think that's, like, not bizarre is not the right word, but like you've gone from making your pro debut with probably very little fanfare in terms of your experience as a kickboxer, to then fighting on a small local boxing show, to then, see, for whatever reason, you've just decided to go back into the kickboxing side of things. You mentioned earlier a couple of issues with technicalities and things about you doing both. You've signed with Glory again, and then, as you say, you've got a massive opportunity, you get yourself in the title picture. And
that's it, like, it's huge. I mean, when I went back to Glory in October, I saw all the lights and stuff. I mean, my last fight was at the Federation Booth in the Lancaster Street. I just walked into the ring like it was a casual stroll, you know. But then I saw the arena, the lights, the cameras, and everything. I was like, this is the big thing, you know. Is
that then like what you want to do? Like
that's what I haven't done my apprenticeship. Fought at all the weights, done all the surgeries, been beaten, you know. To go back to fighting like low level fights, I would rather make my name doing this. If I get big fights in the kickboxing and I get the title belt, brilliant, like, stay there. But if I can cross over as well and maybe call out some boxing, because I've got the Glory title, it's a big deal. I'll be the first British fighter to do it, because no one's ever won the K1 title or the Glory title, so I'll be the first British fighter to ever do it, and I believe I can do it.
And for like our followers who maybe aren't too familiar, they're like two of the sort of marquee kickboxing organisations around the world, aren't they?
They're like K1, Glory, I mean, one's coming through now.
They're doing a bit of a mix, though, aren't they? They're sort of putting MMA with some Thai, with fights on the same show and stuff, and it's interesting, like, as a concept. Yeah. But as you say, the more sort of standout names.
Well, doesn't it? But Glory, I'd say Glory's competitiveness, like especially my division, the welterweight division's
it's fierce, isn't it? Like, I mean, you look at the top there, like Doumbé is unbelievable from what I've seen. He's on a hell of a run at the minute, isn't
he? He went from.
He's got a bit of swag about him as well.
Absolutely wiping people out, and he's an absolute savage on his social media. So if I ever get him, I'm just going to block him off everything. So I can't hear him because he's been him and Myrtle Groenhart.
They're talking about a rematch, aren't they? Like,
and they've been going at each other. And Doumbé has been home.
I speak a bit of French as well, so I can try and I can work out roughly what he's saying on Instagram and that. But do you think again, like we're seeing that more and more? Like I think Floyd Mayweather in boxing was not the first. If you can go back as far as Ali and all the rest of them, but it's that showmanship, and like obviously McGregor's the current one on everyone's lips, and like if anyone who does follow kickboxing, they'll know like Doumbé's trying to get to that sort of. He's got that like style about him, and
no one follows a quiet kid at the back of the class. At the end of the day, and it might just be his character. I've never met Doumbé, so I don't know what he's like without the character. Maybe that's who he is in real life. But I know I've met other fighters before who have that persona, and then you meet them and they're like the nicest lads in the world, you know. So But he's selling tickets and it's a show and he's promoting kickboxing, so brilliant. You know, and it's going to be an epic fight now. I want the winner of Doomby and Groenhart, or the loser, because they're both brilliant fighters.
Again, you just said that, or the loser, like in away from boxing, it doesn't necessarily matter. You know, that's both top fighters.
Yeah.
So he's coming off a loss to the other top fighter. What difference does it make?
Like,
whereas in boxing, it's a bit more fickle. You just sort of cast to the side, and
really
there's a lot of pressure on that. Which again probably comes down to why people build the records and take their time. And
like I say, I don't take anything away from the fighters, because it's probably the way I would have had to have went. You know, coming up, like I'm a ticket seller, I'm not signed by a big promotion. So I would have probably had to been hand-fed through that sort of system myself. And then I think it goes back to the promoters, because I think average Joe and your general public starting to click on that is what's happening. And I think they get sick of it. You turn up to a show and you're like, there's maybe 1 or 2 competitive fights on, whereas the rest, and you get lads who've got 10 fights, 8 by knockout and that, and it's like, they've knocked 8 people out who've got 100 odd losses, you know. It's not that impressive, really.
I think as well, at the rise of social media and obviously the internet, there's so much more scrutiny on it. You can see exactly.
You go on BoxRec straight away.
Yeah,
you go BoxRec.
you know everything. Whereas you're not just relying on, as you say, a poster in a gym or word of mouth to be like, oh, I'm fighting this guy. He's quite tough and blah blah blah.
And that's the thing. I couldn't go to all my friends like, oh, I'm fighting the next up and coming killer, when like, nah, he's not. Like, everyone's expecting us to take him out in 30 seconds or a minute.
Is that a different sort of pressure then? So when you're boxing a guy with a losing record?
Oh, definitely. Imagine if he pings you and you get caught and then you took out. So you have got that pressure as well. And I know lads who like feel the pressure, and I can't blame them. Lads who prefer to be in the 50-50 fights. You know?
Not from a pressure point, but you just said earlier, like you'd prefer someone just for your competition and.
Like, I've been half winding this run up to try and get him come and kill us, because I know that's his style. I know I can take advantage of it.
You had any bites off him?
Nah, not a one.
Ice cold.
He doesn't seem to be that kind of guy. He's not that kind of guy in Glory.
From a technical point, have you seen anything in him that you think you can exploit? You're saying you prefer to go with your hands. Is there anything maybe adjusting? Make any adjustments?
All in his game that I want to exploit. He's very aggressive, and I think I can make him tick and try and come to the point where he tries to kill us. But when I watched him down Birmingham and he fought Alam Nabiev's a very good technical fighter, but Harut looked, to be fair, we looked good. Beat him technically over 5 rounds, didn't have to knock him out or anything, didn't really go too dangerous, and he done.
I'm loving that you're naming a lot of the welterweights I've actually seen, because I'm like, oh yeah, they fought like
that.
But because they've all fought each other, and
that's the thing, they all fight each other. And they're all.
You're not coming off and then taking a couple of years to rebuild, and which you see at the top level in boxing, and it's just straight back in. I think or swim, I think, isn't it?
No, there's nothing like that. It's just a case of it's like Gregorian got knocked out pretty badly off Groenhart. It was quite a famous knockout, and then 5 weeks later he ended up winning a 4-man tournament to get a shot for the title. Then he knocked Groenhart out, and then he had the title for a little while before getting knocked out by Doomby. So it all goes around, and it goes back to the OK1 days when it was just superstar fighting superstar. There's not that much money involved where you can take the time to fight. I'm going to fight once a year. I'm going to have a couple of warm-up fights and fight him. It's a case of you get back in, you fight.
And then just mentioning there about your sort of the money and your earnings, without going into specifics, if you get going with Glory again, is that going to be you full time down the kickboxing route, or?
I'd love to go full time, like, because it kills us at the minute.
For again those who don't know, like, what you do outside of the ring in order to support your passion, I suppose it is.
Yeah. So I'll probably get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, go and do my first session, come back, go to work, look after birds of prey, and then I'll come and do my personal training.
You must be sick of talking about that. How many people ask you about it?
Everybody asks.
I'll leave it for them.
So I'll do my personal training, I'll come back and I'll do my coaching in here, which is all voluntary, I don't get paid nothing for. And then I might have some more PTs and I'll do another training session after that. So you talk and get up at 7, go to bed at 10, so you're knackered.
And again, like a lot of people don't see this. Like
No,
they see
don't.
the glitz and the glamour, and they think, oh, like, I heard like again McGregor, he's fighting for 40 seconds. He got paid X amount per second, and it's like,
That's
but
1%, isn't
but
it?
even him, like you don't see how many hours he's putting in the gym, and
No.
obviously he's full
I
time.
was on the road and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there, like, you don't necessarily have a base as such.
No, I've
You
got
go wherever you can to try and get the experience, get the training.
I mean, even just my base up here is pretty much like Wall's End. That's like a 50-minute drive every day.
Of course,
You know,
yeah.
50 minutes there, 50 minutes back. So it's like, it's a couple of hours out my working day. I've been down Liverpool Monday, Tuesday. I did me parts with John Gillies, a brilliant technical kickboxing stuff. And then I sparred the cow bomb with a few of the lads, and I did like 4 or 5 rounds of Darren Till, you know, to get the work in. Then next week I've got rounds booked in with Paul Daly down Nottingham, so I'm travelling down there. And I'll probably go back down to Liverpool again next week to do some training as well. People don't see it. They think you just get up, you go train, you've got all these sponsors and that. Like, I've got no financial sponsors, so everything's, for me to be able to live this lifestyle, I've got to finance it myself, because whatever you get paid from your fight, after your tax, your manager's fees, your coach's fees, etc., you're left with nothing anyway. It's like, I get to take my daughter away for a little bit. It's me, you know.
Simple things in life.
Until that one day when I get them big money fights.
We'll be plugging this and trying to get you a sponsor, so we'll be putting out a little advert for you. How was working with Darren Till? Like you said there, 4 or 5 rounds. You still standing?
Still standing. I might have a bit of a shiner and a fat nose, and no, he's brilliant. He's really good. He's very, very strong. I've got no idea how he made welterweight. Like, absolutely.
Alright, he's like as you say, he's a big middleweight, and he never mind welter.
Massive, and like I remember he was hitting us with this back leg, so that would be his left. His left head kick was phenomenal. It just seemed to lift effortlessly. You know, he was nice to spar with, but then when I've sparred over welterweights like MVP and Paul Daly, like not half the size of him. And you think, like,
have you worked with both of those already?
I sparred the MVP last September. It was just before my 30th. He was brilliant. Paul Daly's obviously class act, tough people. You've got to put yourself out to spar.
I was just gonna say, they're different styles as well. Like the three of them, aren't they? Like, totally different, hard to quite mimic. I suppose you're getting a range of experience working with them.
Yeah, really. So, are you taking Soph? I just take Soph and I'll come pick her up. I'll go wherever you're going to be. Right, I'll meet you there. If she's not running around. Soph, get your stuff on.
Talking MVP, obviously he's another one who's gone from one code to the other. He's handed pro boxing.
Stuff, wasn't he? And then he boxed, and then he did that as well. But the thing with MVP is, like, he could probably turn his hand at anything. He's not a style of fighter. He's his style of fighter. Like yeah, I don't think you know until you've been with him. And
I can only imagine.
so, like, 1 minute you think you're getting a little bit of a trade off with him, then he jumps through the air and he does this spinning thing, and then you're like, wait, where did that come from? I mean, I drove from Durham down to London, jumped out the car into the cage and sparred with him. Like, I managed a double espresso. I was like, ooh. But then I sparred with him on the morning after, and that was better. But the first wasn't.
It didn't get anywhere near him.
I got him with a few shots on the first night. No, he's brilliant, and then obviously you've got Paul Daly, just tough as out. You know, he's like a big rock.
Right, nicknamed Semtex, isn't he? Like,
Semtex, just like, you know, you've got to keep your hands up with him because he's got knockout power in both. But all 3 guys were great to spar with, you know, and like, I'm taking experience away from them, you know. You
can't help but, like, I only imagine, like, you've got to pick up little bits, even if it's a tiny bit from each of those.
Exactly.
That's a lot of experience that you're
like
maybe rubbing off onto you.
Top of their game. All 3 of them guys could turn over into boxing, kickboxing, MMA, do whatever they wanted, you know. Brilliant combat sport athletes.
And do you believe they'd be successful? Because there's a lot of things, like, you need that specific amateur boxing pedigree to get through the levels.
You can expose that amateur boxing pedigree because it's pretty standard.
Rigid.
It's pretty like there, and you can kind of go around it. Whereas I think if you've got like other game and you can like work around that, sometimes you've got an edge, you know. It's not
something they might not have seen before, possibly.
It's not just a case of, because when I was watching MVP's boxing fight, I thought it would be a case of just put your hands up, walk them down, but it's not, because he's got the movement and got the angles and stuff like that. You can't just put your hands up and walk somebody like that down, because you'd be there and there, That's why I think I heard stories of him sparring like Eubank and James DeGale, and they both jumped up the ring or something with him because they just didn't know what to do. So I think it would be exciting if boxing would allow everybody just to mix it in, especially the high level athletes who are tested, regular, and you're not just fighting guys who's on small hall shows because you don't know how they're getting medically tested, you don't know if they've been knocked out. But if you've got like guys like MVP and people like that, you know if they've been fighting, you know if they've been knocked out because they've been on the telly. You know they've been tested and stuff. That was my argument as well, because I get tested every single fight for HIV, Hep B, Hep C. You get your brain scans and stuff, whereas in boxing, you get tested once a year.
So with all that in mind, how frustrating was it that the board have basically, I don't know the ins and outs, but are basically not happy, shall we say, with the fact that you wanted to dabble with kickboxing as well as boxing?
Because there was most of the board was sound. Most of the board was sound. There was a couple of guys on the board who were just boxing. And I was explaining to them, I was like, wait, they were trying to say like, what if you get knocked out, then and you come and box a week later? I says, I know, but I'm going to be on telly. Just Google the name of the fight, and then you'll find out if I lost by what or one.
It's not like it's behind closed doors where you can lie about it and blag it.
If I did lie about it, then banners for life, because you probably deserve to be. You know?
As you say, like we were just talking earlier, you can find anything out these days. It'll be on social media within seconds of the fight.
That's it. But if you're blood tested and your brain scanned and all the rest of it, where's the harm? I think if you're getting high profile, especially with MMA these days, those guys' profiles are going right up. So you bring high level athletes in, it just creates more, you know.
Unfortunately, boxing doesn't always go hand in hand with common sense, does it?
I think definitely one day they will have to, because look at like the ABAs and stuff now. This guy's getting buys through to the final. Like when you think like 20 years ago or something, they were having like 5 and 6 fights. Even 10 years ago, they were having 5 and 6 fights to get there. And like, especially in the heavyweight ones, they're getting buys through to the final because there's not enough athletes to support. Athletes are going down the MMA route and stuff.
That's the thing. There are different options. It's not like obviously boxing still exists. I love it. It's my first love in terms of combat sports. But there are other options. There's a lot of other activities that these children can get involved in and obviously grow through and bring in. So with that in mind, like, how proud would you be if you were sort of seen in the future as some like pioneer of British kickboxing?
That'd be great, and I kind of feel at the minute I've got a little weight on my shoulders for that, because I do think I'm probably the best kickboxer we've got in the country at the minute to go out and get the title. You know, I don't think that's blowing my own trumpet. If you look at my resume of opponents that I've fought, it's like, you know, in their back gardens and stuff as well. It's massive. So I've earned my right to get there, and I think I've earned my right to say that as well. And I believe I will get that glory title this year.
Nice one.
That's my goal.
I think we'll end there, Jamie. Thank you very much for your time. Absolute pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers.